Hi guys, Ryu here with another tutorial for Blender. I'm gonna be using Hardop's Boxcutter and Mesh Machine in one instance for this tutorial. I wanna show you how to create grates and sort of cool stuff for your sci-fi designs. They're gonna be on flat surfaces, on bent surfaces, on pipes, and at the end I'm gonna show you how to create something cool like this. So let's get started. Let's create a plane. Go to face mode and subdivide it. Then press R twice, go to vert mode, select the edge with Ctrl I to invert, go to face mode, Shift D, P to make it into its own object, delete that plane, add another plane, okay, and I did that because I wanted to remove this unnecessary geo. Solidify it down, grab this one, and go to modifier and go to wireframe. Make it a bit smaller. Apply it when you're happy with it, grab it, and sync it into geo. Select the geo and difference. Now, go to this main plane and flip the modifier. See, if I flip it, the shape changes because first it's going to solidify and then it's going to cut it. That's how it should be done. Now make sure that the geo is not too deep, that cutter, because it's going to start creating some weird artifacts. So when you're happy with the depths, you know, just apply it, bevel, and scroll to 1. 1 is enough. So I'll show you how to fix this. If I press Z, you can see I only have 2 edges. That's gonna save you a lot of memory and sort of it's not going to inflate the trace count or poly count. Simply apply weighted normals modifier by alt clicking on sharpen in Hardops, and you're good to go. The last thing what I want to do is just remove this one by oops. Let's apply solidify first, then apply the boolean. And then we can go here and remove verts. So you're left with this kind of surface. You can bake it into a normal map or just use it as is. How many we have? We have only 1600 trace, so it's not too terrible. Okay, next example. Plane. Move it in here. Subdivide. Shift R twice. It's the same thing. Select these verts, Ctrl I, and now I'm going to actually go on vert mode and go to circle. Now see, in a circle mode in Hardops you can change the amount of verts. You can go into diamond, so a square. You can go into circle. We want a circle, so let's stay with circle. Remove the faces, go to solidify. Press R. If you press R, you're gonna remove the bottom rim. Press bevel. Again, 1 is enough. And weighted normals, and you're done. Another thing we can do with it is create same pattern, but offset. So the circles will not be in a straight line, but they will be offset, which is a bit more interesting. So how you do it is that you go to checker deselect, which will deselect the verts, every second vert, and will create a pattern like this. And then you do the same thing, you know, solidify and bevel, etc. But what if you, for example, wanted to, you can grab actually the same plane here. What if you wanted to make it bend around, I don't know, maybe you have a bent surface or bent object and you want to, you know, sort of drop a grate there, and you want to curve it, but if you curve it, shading is going to go to hell. So how are we going to do, you know, how are we going to solve this? So I'm going to curve it first, deform it, but you see it deforms in the wrong, along the wrong axis. And the reason for it is because I haven't applied rotation. So if I apply rotation, now I'm curving it along the, deforming it along the correct axis. Right click in smooth. So you see now the geo looks smooth. Let's apply this. But if I cut holes in it, right, everything's gonna go to hell. You can see that the shading is just awful. So how do I fix this? Well, you select all the faces. Let me switch back to normal cut. You go to the mesh machine Y menu and you stash the normal information. Then you select those verts. Checker deselect. You create those circles, right? You poke them in. You grab solidify modifier. You press R to remove these loops. And you apply the solidify. Now, let's grab all these faces. As you can see, the shading is absolutely awful, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. I'm pressing Shift and Control, Shift, Control, Shift, Control. Make sure you don't select this inner faces here in those cuts. We don't need those. So we're gonna go to Select, Loops, and Boundary Loops, and that's gonna give us selection on exactly what we need. Control B to bevel this, right? And then we need to select all these faces one more time. Right? Don't select the bevels. And also it will not work with hard, sharpened edges. So go to Y menu in machine, mesh machine, and click on transfer. And now, if you go to this metallic matte cap, you can see we have a perfect shading with endguns all over the place. So if someone tells you that you always need quads, you can slap him. Okay, let's keep going. Let's grab another plane. Again, subdivide it. Shift R twice. You know the drill. Oops. Okay. And now let's go to search. By default it's F3, but I have it remapped to space. Type poke. And then select I. Press I to insert these faces. And delete them. And you got a pattern like this. The only problem with that is that you're gonna have a lot of really odd geometry. It's gonna create a lot of unnecessary geo. So the way to combat this is to bring the cursor to this plane, grab these triangles, separate them into an object, create a new plane, right? Grab these triangles, select them all, extrude them. Now sync them a bit into the geo, so GZ, select that difference. And now if I apply this boolean, right, you can see that my geometry is much better. So I can go to solidify, press R to remove this face, bevel, one segment is enough, and weighted normals, and you sort it. This one is casting as shadows. And you have a pattern like this, and the geometry is much better. You might actually want to, clean these lines. In fact, to be honest, we don't really need them. So you might join these together by, for example, using a knife tool. In Boxcutter, or just drawing a knife, or just connecting them manually, whichever way you want. But these lines, usually when you have lines that connect to a corner at a very steep angle, they might cause problems for bevels. So Another thing that you can do is to create really small cutouts. Look quite cool as well. So let's create more loops here, and same drill. Select the edges, and then click on I to insert. And you can insert like this, right? You could do the checker deselect and insert random. I mean, not random, but offset. Or you could simply select random and then press W twice, and with Control deselect, Control being depressed, deselect with mouse all these guys, and then I to insert, and then delete that, and then solidify, and then you could create something like this. It's also cool. So another pattern that is quite interesting will be with circles again. So subdivide it twice, and again let's select this middle part. So Control I to insert, and now I'm going to go for poke, and then insert these triangles, and now I'm going to go to circle, and if you decrease the size of them, you can see that it creates a really cool pattern, but the geo is an absolute pig. So again, same trick, selection, separate it, bring a cursor to selection, create a plane, grab these circles, extrude them upwards, sharpen and smooth them so the cutters are smooth, bring it in, difference. And now if I apply this boolean, right, let me hide the cutter. The geometry is much better, you see. So all you need to do is fix these lines, but you don't have this entire mess in the middle. So less geo, computer's gonna be more happy, right? So solidify, press R to remove the bottom face, same drill, bevel, etc. But you can create really cool patterns, you know. And again, if you resize this, you're gonna have ovals. So pretty cool. Can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this thing. It's really cool. Alright, so let's see what we can do with pipes. So let's grab a cylinder. Okay. Let's rotate it on X. And let's scale it on X and Z. Oops. Alright. Select these faces and split them. And we can actually smooth this and actually sharpen this too. And this one, yeah, the same thing, just Control click on sharpen, so it's gonna smooth it and sharpen it. And let's subdivide this by Control R and inserting some loops in here. Now let's go to modifier decimate and click on subdivide once, not twice, once, and apply it. We're gonna get something like this. So now if I'm gonna go to wireframe and bring the cylinder back, we have a reinforced cable. And you can create a small section of this and array it the same, you know, array it along the pipe. You don't have to create a lot of them, just a small section and array it along the curve with the pipe. So that's pretty cool. And of course you can, you know, make it thicker or thinner, which is really cool. Right. Another thing that you can do with a pipe, so let's grab this cylinder and duplicate it. Create, I'm not going to be actually, you know what, let's do it properly. So let's select these faces, duplicate it, hide this cylinder, and subdivide this. Okay. And then select these invert selection and checker deselect. And now if you introduce circles, remember we didn't resize, we didn't apply this scale after resizing, so again we're gonna get this cool pattern. Shading is gonna be really bad, but again, if you apply the same idea as we did here with the same method with normal transfer that we did for this piece, you can do it for this pipe here, and then simply array it along the pipe, and you're gonna have a beautiful shading. So if you, let's go back, and if we actually apply the scale and do the same thing, so go to circle, now we're gonna have circles, right? And if you want to have them offset, you are simply checker deselecting them, and now you have something like this. And then bevel. Let's create one section of bevel only. Small bevel and weighted normals. You know, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, it looks pretty bad. So really, you would need to, there is no other way than either, you know, creating perfect, very dense quad geometry, or simply doing a normal transfer, or maybe shrink wrapping it. But I think this method's gonna be the easiest in this case, because you know you can simply array this along the pipe, create a very small section, and then just array it, and then maybe bake it into onto the pipe. But if I bring this pipe back and make it a bit smaller, you can see it creates a really cool sort of pattern on top of it. Okay, so last thing I want to show you is how to create that floor pattern with a glass that you can see in a thumbnail of the of this video. So remember I told you that we will need those extra objects, extra mesh objects, and if you go to mesh extras, you'll see honeycomb in here. That's what we need. You'll need to change some settings though. Number of rows to 3 and play a bit with the width. And then we're going to bring this pattern in here. Grab a plane, actually grab a plane, make this one smaller. Rotate it on a z-axis, move it in here, and I'm gonna apply rotation and scale. Click on array, shift the axis to Y, maybe this many. Let's make it more sparse. Maybe it's gonna be cool. Yeah. And then duplicate it. But before I duplicate it, I'm gonna remove this plane because I can't see anything. So duplicate it. Oh, by the way, make sure that you are in a top view orthographic mode. So one should press 7. On the numpad, press 5 for orthographic. So when you move these shapes, they will not shift on z-axis. Maybe once more here. Okay, and then let's bring the plane back. All looks alright. Okay, so let's grab all these and wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Apply the modifiers. So go to operations and multiply. Ctrl J to merge them into one object. Go to face mode and extrude them up. And apply sharpness and smoothness. Now grab this plane. And let's come out of orthographic mode. Let's grab this and sync it into the geo and difference. We don't need this cutter anymore, but actually no, we do. Let's bring it back for a second and move it to the middle of this plane. There we go. Alright. So we don't need it anymore. Let's apply it. So operations and smart apply. And now we can go for select and select random. Deselect the big faces because we don't need them. Right. Then inset these faces and delete it. Okay. Then grab solidify, move it down, and bevel it. Again, one segment is enough, just a small one, and apply weighted normals, which will fix all the shading issues. Create another plane, move it a little bit down, like this. Go to Hardups by Ctrl M to Hardups material panel. Create material and switch it to glass. And this one, we're going to apply principal shader and go to dev mode and see how it look. Maybe change the lighting a bit. Cool. Create another plane. Move it down, make it bigger. Let's add some decal to it very quickly. On this one maybe. Make it bigger. Apply it. Project it. Grab some material. Reapply the decal. And we're done. You got a really cool sci-fi floor. You could even add some lights if you wanted to. Would actually look pretty cool with lights. Maybe underneath. Let's rotate it a little bit. Actually, now we have a new function in the look dev, which is amazing. You can rotate the HDR map and choose different ones, etc, etc. Set cameras. It's pretty amazing what they did. It's just a new release. So here we go. A really cool background for some kind of a sci-fi design. Very easy to do. Hope you enjoyed the vid, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.